Happy Friday afternoon to everyone. It's been a great week for the orchestra here at Passage Middle School. This week, our intermediate and advanced students had symphony orchestra auditions, and our beginners, our 7th and 8th grade beginners, started working on their bow strokes and harder pizzicato exercises, while our 6th grade beginners, they worked on their pencil bow grips and their scale exercises. I wanted to take a moment to discuss symphony orchestra as everyone found out their results today. We had 42 kids audition for symphony orchestra, and we selected 31 string students to be in it. We have an additional 20 winds, brass, and percussion students as well, but we selected 31 string students. Those students who were not selected, they were not selected because they aren't quite ready for the music. The music is really difficult, as you could see from the audition, and I would rather those students who did not make it to work on their string music, to progress a little bit further, and then let's try again in January. I love all of my students. I care about all of my students. I tell them that as often as I can. And it's really hard for me to say no to some students, and this is the first time I've really had to do that. However, I have to take what's in my students' best interest to heart. And for some students, I just don't think they're ready to be a part of that type of orchestra yet. The music is far advanced. They're playing in key signatures that they haven't played in before, and they're playing with instruments that are really, really loud. Band instruments are loud. So we need to put our students in an environment that is going to help them to be most successful. And a symphony orchestra is probably not that if you're not ready for it. So if you're not ready for it, that's okay. Everyone progresses on their instrument at a different pace. There's nothing wrong with that. So if you did not make it into symphony orchestra, please do not be discouraged. Please do not be discouraged. Rather, come see me. Let's talk one-on-one about what you need to do. Let's make a plan. And in January, if you work through the plan that I give you, I can't guarantee you'll make it, but I can guarantee that you'll have a much better chance. Right? So please keep that in mind. For those students who did make it, congratulations. I am proud of everyone who auditioned. That music was really hard. Even those who didn't make it, I'm proud of them too. No one came in and did so bad that I wanted to just go home. Everyone came in and did at least their best, and that's what I asked for. So those of you who made it, congratulations. Now your work is cut out for you. Your first rehearsal is Wednesday, October 15th. That's a week and a half from now. And you are required to have the beginning of sword dance all the way to measure 53 learned, prepared, and ready to be performed that day. So please make sure that you are regimenting your practice and making sure that you are practicing that music in addition to your string orchestra music. And please be prepared that day because that music isn't easy, so take a look at it. I'm sure you guys will do a great job. Make sure you practice beginning to 53 so that you're ready for that rehearsal. Again, that's Wednesday, October 15th from 2:05 to 4:20 p.m. District orchestra students, if you have turned in an application for district orchestra auditions, we will be making sure that everyone has the scale sheet as well as their prepared piece this week. We'll be taking a day to do sectionals this week, so that will be a good time for me to work with students. We'll do that again next week. And the week of the event, we will have an after-school tutoring session on Thursday, October 23rd. As you know, the audition is Saturday, October 25th, and you will get your time later on in the month. Students in intermediate and advanced orchestra will be required to audition for All-City Orchestra. That audition will be on Thursday, November 7th. There will be bus transportation from Passage Middle School to Hines Middle School for that audition. And all students in intermediate and advanced orchestra are required to attend that audition. That is a performance grade worth 40% of your second marking period grade. So please make sure you have marked on your calendar Thursday, November 7th, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Hines Middle School for your required all-city audition. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. Please also recognize that if you are going to be absent due to a conflict, you are required to notify me in writing 30 days in advance. in which case I will use Newport News Public School Board policy to determine whether or not that will be an excused or unexcused absence. So if you have a very legitimate reason as to why you cannot be at that audition on Thursday, November 7th, you have to notify me in writing by October 8th, which I believe is Wednesday of next week. So please make sure that you recognize that's coming up 30 days in advance, and I need that in writing from a parent and signed as soon as possible, but at the latest by next Wednesday, which is October 8th. Supplies. All students should have shoulder rests and rosin at this point. Shoulder rests and rosin can both be purchased from Music and Arts Center, which is in the Kiln Creek Shopping Center. The Kiln Creek Shopping Center is off of Oyster Point in Victory. It's right on the border of Newport News and York County. The Music and Arts store is actually in York County, so it's off of Victory Boulevard. Next to Cox Communications, which is in the strip mall right next to Kroger and behind Kmart. So please make sure you get your shoulder rests and rosin. All students will need a shoulder rest and rosin by this upcoming week. So make sure you have that so that your child can be most successful on their instrument. Reading music. All of our students read music, and our beginners are starting to read it without the letters and without the numbers, and it's time that we have a discussion about this. First of all, we have some second and third year students who still do not know how to read music. So, parents, I challenge you and encourage you to look at your child's sheet music. If they have a whole bunch of numbers and letters written all over it, they can't read sheet music. They can have a few here or there, which I encourage, and they can have stuff that I've told them to write in. But I have never told anyone to write in every letter and every number for every note. So if your child meets that description, you want to follow these directions as well. In order to learn how to read music, we need to trick our brain. It's a cognitive process. Our brain needs to know how to do it. If you take the easy way and you write it in, your brain will never understand how to read music. So here's how you trick it into understanding it. It's a 3-rule process. I call this Mr. Roberts' Rules to Reading Music. Rule number 1. Write the letter name in for 1 pitch per line. So in other words, if you have an open D, write 1 D in underneath the open D. The next D you have, can't write it in. You get to the next line, you can write it in again, 1 time. If you have 20 Ds on a line, you can only write a D underneath one of them. The next line, you can write under another one, but only 1 per line. So rule number 1, write 1 pitch name in, 1 letter name in per line, per note. Rule number 2, write 1 fingering in per line, per note. So, you know that D is an open D, so you'll write a 0 above it. The next D, you can't write a 0 above it. Only once per line. You get to E, you know it's a 1, write in the 1. After that, if you have another E, you can't write it in. Just 1 per line. Okay? That's rule number 2. 1 fingering per line per note. Rule number 3. Make no exceptions to rule number 1 and rule number 2. If you make exceptions, your brain will never learn. Make no exceptions to those rules. So rule number 1, write in 1 letter name per pitch per line. Rule number 2, write in 1 fingering per pitch per line. Rule number 3, make no exceptions to rule number 1 and number 2. If you do that, you'll be able to read music. If you don't, you won't. Okay? So well, you might, but most likely won't. So let's go ahead and get that rolling. Make sure that you are learning how to read music appropriately. Practice records are due on Monday evening for practice period number 3, which is from September 29th to October 5th. If you have not turned in your practice record from practice period number 2, which was September 22nd to September 28th, they must be turned in by 11:59 this evening. Today is Friday, October 3rd. You have till 11:59 this evening to get practice period number 2's practice record in. After that, I will no longer accept it. Practice period 3, again, is due on Monday by 11:59, and of course, if you don't get it in by Monday night, you have until next Friday to get it in by 11:59 p.m. As always, if you don't have a computer at home, I have no idea how you're watching this, but if you have no computer at home, you can fill out your practice record at school between the times of 7 a.m. and 7:20 a.m., Monday through Friday, every day of the week. My laptop is out for our children to use. This week, our 6th grade beginners will begin working with their pencil bow grips. Actually, they will continue working with their pencil bow grips. They will have a test on number 34, which is Jingle Bells, on Tuesday. And they will begin, after they get through that test, they'll begin working with their bows and their rosin, which is why they need the rosin. So you need to make sure you have that rosin by Wednesday at the latest, 6th graders. 7th and 8th graders, you will continue to work with your bows on your rosin, but not yet playing. We will have a test on number 41 later in the week, and once you get through number 41, we get to move on to 42 and start working on our bows. 7th and 8th grade, intermediate, and advanced students, you're going to be getting new music this week. All section leaders have been given that new music, so they should be working on that over the weekend, and we will be sight reading by Tuesday or Wednesday is my hope. I hope that all of you have a great week. If you need to get in touch with me, my phone number is 757-528-2033. Of course, you can get me by email at sean.roberts@nn.k12.va.us. But the easiest way to get in touch with me at all times is, of course, through iSchool Music. So if you need to get a hold of me, parents, please feel free to do so through iSchool Music. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Hope everyone has a fabulous weekend. Enjoy your time off. And I hope that everyone has a great week, and I will see you guys next Friday for our next weekly video.